Well, here we are for another culture shock talk. This one, we're going to get a little personal.
A little bit.
So today we're going to be talking about how we personally stand out as Americans in the Netherlands. Now, some people may wear Daisy Duke shorts when they're on vacation here, and you're going to say, oh, those are Americans, or something like that. We don't wear Daisy Duke shorts. Well, Mark only does it on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And but what we're
only between 2 and 4.
That's right, yes. Yeah. It's a small window. But we're basically going to talk about how we stand out as Americans.
There's no bad or good to it. It's just interesting. So
yeah, and the funny thing is that I felt less American in the U.S. than I do now. I always had interests in history and other cultures and had pen pals, lots of pen pals, and all that sort of thing. And I always sort of felt out of step with everyone else. Come over here, and my Americanisms just sort of smacked me right in the face. They became very obvious to me and almost inescapable.
Sorry to interrupt you. Although she told me many times she's felt so much more at home.
Yeah, we feel at home here. So this has nothing to do with comfort. The Dutch community in general have made us feel very welcome here. But these are just sort of things that we go, as much as we are doing our inburgering here, we still are American.
Yeah.
We're still American.
Yeah, it's astounding how many people actually kind of peg us and they kind of know. Trying to, like I call once in a while, Dutchify ourselves. We're trying to kind of
not lose us.
Yeah, not going to lose our...
Not lose our roots. We are what we are.
Yeah.
And, that's fine. It's a global world and it's a very diverse country. But we are trying to at least, fit in step with everyone else. So
you just said a global world. It is a global world.
It is a global world.
It's a global world.
It's always
it really
a global
is.
World.
No, that was really profound. I'm going to remember that one.
Oh, world, global, yeah, international. It's an international global world.
I know. I'm just picking on her.
So for the first one, the volume of our voice.
I'm laughing because she's constantly telling me to shh, to be cool. I mean, my volume naturally, even there, right there.
See,
my natural volume
in the red with the mic.
I know, we're seeing it, we're watching it. So I got to kind of calm down with my voice. It's my theater background, I guess.
Yeah, he has a theater background, so he projects his voice anyways. There's a few things going on here.
Yeah.
So we are American, and Americans do tend to talk loud. We're very expressive.
Boisterous.
I guess you'd say. We're boisterous. Yeah. And that is, I know when I go into a restaurant, there's other Americans in there. I can hear them first before I see them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
How they stand out. We stand out.
We stand out.
Sorry, we stand out.
But the other thing is that Mark is actually deaf in one ear. And that's why I always sit on this side of him so he can hear me. And so he will sometimes talk loudly and not know it. And then I have to talk loudly so he can hear me. And then we're also on top of that talking loudly because we're Americans, so we can hit pitches.
Yeah.
You have no idea how loud we can go.
So we have to kind of train ourselves to pull back, and it is an American trait. So we kind of pull back. We learn to pull back.
Yeah, we're especially sensitive about it because we live in an apartment building. We in the U.S. I always heard my neighbors. They always heard me. I don't know if it was so much to do with, we had wood frame walls, so that's part of it. Part of it also is that, again, American. But here we have very quiet neighbors.
Yeah, it's really different, isn't it? It's just...
so we try to keep it down. We wear headphones when we're watching TV, and we have an open kitchen living room area. So I'll be in the living room, he's in the kitchen, and we're really just like 10 feet away from each other. But we'll start finding ourselves shouting because to us it feels like, well, I'm in another room. Mostly we're not.
I'm the one that mostly, she'll remind me, you're shouting. And I tend to get irritated sometimes when she reminds me that I'm shouting.
I'm just I just do this.
She'll do that.
And that just lets him know
so
his voice is reaching those heights.
Yeah, so I kind of, I'm learning.
You do it for me too.
Yeah, but I'm learning to really kind of catch myself now, which is kind of cool. But it really, it's amazing how a lifetime of upbringing and living in a country that we are louder, it's how difficult it is for us to kind of change that. So
Yeah. So that is something that we're aware of.
We're
and
working on it.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
When we're in public, even when we make the videos, we have to remind each other we're wearing mics. We don't have to project.
She reminds me all the time, you're wearing a mic.
Because I'm a former
Yeah.
actor too, so I'm used to projecting as well. You want to like get your voice to where it's
Yeah.
supposed to go, but yeah, I don't know why that is.
We're getting
the
there.
Thing.
Yeah. So eventually, I'm going to be talking like this to everybody I meet. Oh, and they're going to say, you changed so much. Yes, I know. Hopefully not that soft, but I mean, we're kind of learning to pull it back.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're still trying to be ourselves, but we're trying to be respectful of other people's ears. So yeah, that's one thing. So another one is we say sorry too much.
I'm sorry, what? Sorry.
Well, the Dutch don't say it so often. They pick their moments to say sorry.
We do apologize a lot. I mean, it's just kind of a natural. I don't know why.
I'll squeeze by you on the bus, and I'm
Yeah.
going, sorry.
Excuse me, pardon.
Excuse me,
I say,
sorry.
Pardon.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I say sorry way too much. I should say pardon more, but I don't know why. We say sorry a lot, and
Yeah.
I mean that's not a trait for all Americans. The things we're talking about, it's more of an Americanism that a lot of Americans do.
I mean, put it
enough
this
for
way,
it to be noticeable.
It's better than being rude, you know, but we do go out of our way too much, I think, when it's not necessary. You know, it's so saying pardon or sorry when it isn't necessary. We do that quite a bit, and we notice it, and we'll actually get people kind of looking like, what are you saying sorry for? You know, kind of a thing.
Yeah, they almost look annoyed because you know it takes an extra step of acknowledgement when someone says they're sorry here.
That's a good point.
So for me, when I'm walking by someone, for instance, to say sorry, they now have to look at me being like, you know, what are you apologizing for? Is there something that I'm supposed to be paying attention to?
Forcing engagement with somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are kind of in their own world and they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
So we're trying to be more
sorry,
like the Dutch.
They have to turn and look at you and acknowledge you, and it wasn't necessary in the first place. So, yeah.
So we are trying to take that under advisement. And try to curb it unless it's necessary. If I step on your foot, I'll say I'm sorry. If I'm just existing in your nearby area on a bus trying to get to the door,
I'm
and
sorry, I'm existing here. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
I'm not touching you or elbowing you. I won't say sorry. I'm learning that though. It's still a bad habit. So, and that leads into another phrase that we're trying to curb, which is "How are you?" Which it's interesting though, because I've had ever since we became aware of it, I'm now hearing Dutch people say that to me.
They do, and I've talked about this in my previous video that we did.
Yeah, on how to piss off the Dutch.
Yeah,
that's one of the
and
ways.
I remember asking. It's just one of my former bosses would, after a while, he would tell me, and he'd say, You don't say that. Don't say that. You don't need to say how are you. Just say hello. Just say hello, because you're forcing a response. Like now I got to tell them how I am, and it's just a greeting. You know, in the U.S., that's how people greet each other.
You
Say, how
just
are
say fine, hi,
Yeah.
how are you, fine, how are you, good, okay, and then you move on. It's like nobody's asking a legitimate question, and here it is an invasion of privacy.
It kind of is, but I'm getting more and more people say the same thing. You know, they're used to it. Maybe they're used to Americans asking
that might be it. That they're used to
Yeah.
Americans. I'm noticing the more Dutch people that come into our orbit that we know, the younger Dutch people, when I bump into them later, they'll say, "Hey, how are you?"
Hey, how are you? Yeah.
And or they'll say "fine" back to me if I accidentally say it, and then we just move on. So I don't know. It's perhaps an unfortunate Americanism.
But some people are
sneaking
not
in
like
here.
that. So when you ask somebody, I'll know right away when I say, how are you? And there'll be a pause. And then they'll kind of slowly turn. Like, oh, do you really want to know how I am? And it's sort of like
it's like, I don't want to get into it.
I don't want
with
to get
you.
into my
I'm just
day.
trying to do my thing.
You may be sort of a friend, but you're still a stranger. I don't want to talk about my day.
Yeah, and we've had some of our Dutch viewers tell us that when someone says that to them, they'll tell them. and they'll just make them pause their day to tell them for 10 minutes how their kid is in college.
That's directness,
and,
man.
And they're like, okay, well, fine. How much time you got? I'll tell you how I am.
It's hard, man. It's hard. I mean, I automatically do that. When I greet somebody, I keep telling myself, just say hello. The next thing we want to talk about is we still have a tendency to overtip over here. I mean, in the States, it's a different economic platform, I guess. When you're a food server or a bartender, most of your salary comes from the tips. That's just the way it's set up.
All of it.
Pretty much. Both of us worked in the food service industry for a long time.
In fact, when I met him, we met in our 40s. I was working Horeca for like 15 years as a bartender and server. And the thing there is you get about a third of what minimum wage is, and it all goes to taxes, so you don't really get a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then you have to tip out, so the money you do get for tips, you also have to share with the bartender, the food runner, the host, the busser. So if you don't get tipped, you're actually paying people for a job that you're not getting paid for. And so I have this feeling in me because of this, but also the mathematics. So maybe you can help me with this, because like if you get a check that's 33 euros, people always say just round it up. So if it's 33.60, do I round it up to 35, or do I just round it up to the next euro? That's where we just go, what do we do? So we just add a few extra euros. Sometimes we go too high.
Yeah, that's confused us since we came over here. I'm always cognizant of the economy, and I always think that, well, we should give a little more than that. But again, is that the American in me from thinking back to the States, or was,
It is hard for us not to tip because of our background in Horeca and also our background as Americans. Retraining ourselves in that moment when they're handing you the thing to swipe your card and you're like, you got like a second to think. I usually overdo it.
Yeah. We're not comfortable with it because we're not so sure where we stand with that. So,
even the way we ask, they'll be like, "Can you make it 35?"
Yeah. And we look at them. It's like,
is that okay?
This is okay. You're not going to hit me, are you? If I give you just the. So it's an interesting little dilemma here. Again, especially as the economy changes, do people tip more? Tell us.
Yeah,
tell us
don't know.
Yeah, tell us in the comments. What do you guys do?
It's one of those things that we never think to ask our Dutch friends when we're out with them. Like, hey, by the way, tipping?
Yeah.
What do you do? There was something that that used to bother me in the U.S. is when, like, you'd get food to go, they would grab a stack of napkins and throw them in the bag for you. And it was always a waste. So we'd end up with these mismatched napkins that we would put in our napkin holder in our kitchen so that we used them up so that we weren't wasting. And it used to bother me. But what I noticed is that coming over here, even though I wasn't taking a massive stack of napkins, let's say you get a sandwich at Albert Heijn at the train station, they have a stack of napkins there. I only grab one. I try to only grab one because I noticed for quite a while I would grab 3 or 4 just in case.
Yeah.
I wasn't grabbing stacks like what used to annoy me in the U.S., but I was still grabbing way more than I should. Yeah.
I don't know.
but I did notice, like, even though I thought I was using much less than the average American, or at least, what you pull out of a bag, you get a bagel, and you get to the office, you pull your bagel out of the bag, and then there's a big stack of napkins like this in the bag too. And you're like, what a waste, man.
Yeah.
And I thought I wasn't wasting, but I've noticed coming here, I used too much toilet paper. I used more than one paper towel to dry my hands. When there's paper towels, you just start grabbing them, and I was like, I try now to be more.
It's funny how it's naturally kind of seeped into us to use less.
But we are cognizant of it, and it's an American trait it's an American trait for us that we're trying to reduce. With my autism, I sort of pay attention to what other people are doing around me. Like it may not be a rule here, but just sort of what is the normalized behavior.
Yeah.
So I'm paying attention to, like, when I'm in the restroom, is someone sitting there going like this to the paper towels to dry their hands, or are they just taking one, or are they just wiping it on their pants before they go out, that kind of thing. I'm
Yeah.
always watching this, and I noticed that's when I started to realize that I took more than my fair share. So when we came here, I went to the grocery store and I got some sandwich cheese in the cellophane packets at the grocery store. And it came with like, I think it was 4 slices. It was like 5. I think it was 5. And I came home and I'm like, what the heck? I mean, that's almost an entire sandwich worth of cheese.
Yeah.
No, it was a week's worth of cheese. It was 1 slice for a sandwich. And when we did our sandwich video, we got a lot of comments about how much of the different sandwich toppings we were putting on our bread. They're like, why are you putting so much and you're just piling it on? And we thought we're just doing a tasting, so we didn't put that much on. We were putting a lot on. So portion control is something that's obvious.
I remember when we lived in New York, you would go to delis and you'd go to restaurants. And the thing was, they would try and break records with the amount of stuff they would put on a sandwich. So when she says 5 slices, she's not kidding. They would have 5 slices of cheese, and if you were getting like a pastrami or a roast beef, I swear to God, the roast beef would be that thick.
Oh, if you go to Katz's, it was like that thick.
Katz's was it's a very famous deli in New York City. And they're known for having sandwiches that are literally that thick. Your
bagels are like this before you put toppings in them, that kind of thing.
You know, so that's kind of what we got used to as common, you know, and you'd pay for it, of course, but that's what you would be paying for, and that's what you would expect. So yeah, we went to a sandwich place here, and it was less than half of what we were used to getting from, say, if you were in New York City.
Yeah, so, which I've actually learned to appreciate. Yeah. I mean, for me, I would do like 3 slices of cheese was my average on a sandwich, especially a grilled cheese. I needed that 3. And now I do 1. And the bread here is so good that when you do 1 slice of cheese with the Dutch bread, it's like you get to really taste the bread more and the cheese, and it's like the perfect amount, the perfect balance of flavor of both of those things working together. It's, hey, bugs. It's a better sandwich. There's the size of the food, but also rushing through the eating.
Yeah.
So that's another a trait that makes us stand out. Wherever I worked in the U.S., if I had a lunch break, because I didn't always get a lunch break, I would always eat at my desk. And I always knew that I was gonna, get hassled to go back to work even earlier before my lunch was up. And so I would have to eat very quickly. And I got used to eating very quickly. And a lot of Americans they eat on the run a lot. And then when you live in New York and you go to a restaurant, they want to flip the table. They got another reservation back to back to back, and they want you to move because it's expensive real estate. So then you're being pushed out the door.
They want to rush you out and get the other table in there as soon as possible. Yeah. Here, it's just the opposite.
Yeah, so here they don't rush you. And so you have that time and that luxury to relax, and your jobs do require you to actually take your full break. Yeah, I mean, even when my daughter was in school in the U.S., they would only give them 20 minutes for lunch. And that was getting all the kids down to the cafeteria, going through the line, eating, putting their tray away, and then trying to get some play in, and the kids want to get some play in. So even at a young age, it's
rush,
eat. Yeah, so here we're learning to slow down too, because it's fast.
That's drilled into me. She reminds me so much. Before I know it, I'm done with my dinner, and she's not even halfway through hers, and she's like, "God, you eat fast." And it's like, I don't even think about it. It's just it's something that's drilled into me from when I lived, in the States, and it's just everybody kind of ate that way.
And also I noticed it the other day, like literally 2 days ago, we were filming at the Hortus Botanicus in Leiden, and we were sitting in their cafe there, and this lady right next to us, she got served before we ordered. We waited for our stuff, it came, and we were done. Like, boom, our coffees were down. We shared a piece of Butterkuchen. That was done. She's still got half of her pie left, sipping her coffee, just relaxing, looking around, and I'm like, oh, God, why did I eat so fast? I was
Both of us-
enjoying it, but I wanted to make it
We
stretch.
both noticed it. So it was
Yeah.
like, it was not until we were done. And part of it is that, sometimes the food is very tasty. Like the buttercook.
Get in my face fast!
Yeah, it was really, really good.
Get in my belly!
And,
Yeah. And how else are you going to do Menschenkeichen if you're rushing out the door?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Exactly.
it's something that we aspire to. But for now, we stand out as Americans.
yeah, still.
So another one is that in the U.S., they have different privacy laws. And whether or not you have sick days is up to the individual job. Whether or not they're paid sick days is up to the individual job. So in a spirit of self-preservation, Americans tend to overshare with their bosses when they take a sick day in order to justify the absence so that you don't have backlash for it. So one of the things we noticed with Mark, and it was even pointed out by his boss, he said, because of privacy laws, all you got to do is say, I'm sick, and take a sick day. And you're allowed to take a sick day.
Over here.
Over here.
Yeah.
So with Mark, though, you said that he gave a blow by blow to the boss.
Yeah, and it was just carried over from my experience growing up in the States and the jobs that I had there. Most of them were very good, but just based on my work history and the companies that I worked for, jobs that I had, there was still this undercurrent of blame. Like, don't call in sick. It's going to be held against you. Over here, it's different. The privacy laws over here are very, very different. That I was told by my current boss, and she made a special point to say, if you can't make it in because you're sick, and she pointed out I keep saying privacy.
I go privacy. I do the same
privacy
thing.
laws over here are different in that you don't have to explain yourself. All you got to do is say, I'm not coming in today. And I was shocked when my boss said that in one of our meetings. Really? You don't have to explain why you're, I sprained my ankle, or I'm sick, or I've got a bad cold, or whatever. It could be any reason at all. Bottom line is, I'm not coming in today. That's all you have to say. And they do not hold it against you. In the States, I was always, whether it was self-manipulation or whether it was guilt from my bosses or whatever, I always felt that I had to, I remember sitting down, composing, oh my God.
I hope they believe me, I'm so sick.
I know, it's like you would think they're not going to believe this. I really feel bad about this. And that was there, and it's just a different attitude here about absences and about sickness. That's all.
Yeah, you get sick, you take the day, and you don't have to explain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, if you have Americans like us working for you, you might find out more than you care to know.
Yeah.
So another way we stand out as being Americans is that we're not literal. It's freezing tonight. There's 1 million people here.
I'm starving.
This is the craziest morning.
Yeah.
We did a video on the Pilgrims, and we were outside on a very cold day filming, and Mark on video said, it's freezing today. And we had several people go, no, it isn't. The temperature did not dip below zero. It was at least 5 degrees that day.
And I was like, ooh, really?
We were like, we just meant it's very cold.
It's very cold.
Yeah, it's very cold. If you go to a concert, go, oh my God, there were so many people there. There were 1 million people there. No, there wasn't. The theater capacity is only 10,000.
Yeah. So the tendency to exaggerate, or just that's kind of, it's just conversation.
To us, it's just making an emphasis.
Yeah, you're just emphasizing
a situation, a feeling,
yes,
a circumstance. To non-Americans, it's and especially to the Dutch. Well, because over here, you have to agree on the facts. That's the thing, and we're learning. We still can be quite emphatic. Even how often we use exclamation points. Yeah. Like when I'm responding in the comments, or how often it's awesome or super or incredible. Yeah, we're very emphatic.
Again, it's wiring. Again, from when growing up, these are almost expressions. It's like, it's freezing. I'm starving. And people don't point them out over there. It's just kind of the way when you have a conversation. It's a way of being emphatic. Over here, you're called for it. So we're learning to kind of temper our language a little bit. Yeah.
So if you are an American living here, in what ways do you feel like you stand out? If you're Dutch, how do you spot the American in a crowd?
Yeah, did we miss something?
Yeah, and if you aren't Dutch and you aren't American, any of this resonate with you where you've noticed this too, or something different? So we're just curious. I mean, this is just something we've shared because I think any of us, when we move to another country or even just traveling, our own differences become much more obvious to us. And so this is our personal journey as Americans. And again, like, not all Americans do the things we do. Not all of them would identify with it. Some of them do things that I would never do.
Yep. But we are immigrants.
Thanks so much for joining us. And we have had people ask us how they can help support the channel. And so we've started a Patreon now. And that also will have extra content, Q&As. We'll have a little virtual Boral once a month and a community chat if you want to talk with each other as well. So you can join us over there too for extra content. But we really thank you for being here and supporting this channel. We're almost at our 1 year mark.
Yep.
Can't believe it's been a year already. And we've met some amazing people through the channel.
We're so grateful to you guys. We've had such fun bringing this stuff to you. We really enjoy it. We love your comments.
We're learning from you.
We are learning. You guys are teaching us so much. So please keep that coming along. We just love it. And it's really helping us to kind of acclimate a lot more. And it's a slow process. But it is what it is. It takes time. And you guys are helping us. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. So thanks again, and tot ziens.